Music is the melody whose text is the world. There is no absurdity so palpable, but that it may be firmly planted in the human head if you only begin to inculcate it before the age of 5, by constantly repeating it with an air of great solemnity. Nature shows that with the growth of intelligence comes increased capacity for pain, and it is only with the highest degree of intelligence that suffering reaches its supreme point. The wise have always said the same things, and fools, who are the majority, have always done just the opposite. To free a person from error is to give and not to take away. As the biggest library, if it is in disorder, is not as useful as a small but well-arranged one, so you may accumulate a vast amount of knowledge, but it will be of far less value than a much smaller amount if you have not thought it over for yourself. Politeness is to human nature what warmth is to wax. The greatest achievements of the human mind are generally received with distrust. The man never feels the want of what it never occurs to him to ask for. They tell us that suicide is the greatest piece of cowardice, that suicide is wrong, when it is quite obvious that there is nothing in the world to which every man has a more unassailable title than to his own life and person. In action, a great heart is the chief qualification, in work, a great head. Friends and acquaintances are the surest passport to fortune. If we were not all so interested in ourselves, life would be so uninteresting that none of us would be able to endure it. Change alone is eternal, perpetual, immortal. Opinion is like a pendulum and obeys the same law. If it goes past the center of gravity on one side, it must go a like distance on the other, and it is only after a certain time that it finds the true point at which it can remain at rest. With people of limited ability, modesty is merely honesty, but with those who possess great talent, it is hypocrisy. Satisfaction consists in freedom from pain, which is the positive element of life. Honor has not to be won, it must only not be lost. Great men are like eagles and build their nest on some lofty solitude. Reading is equivalent to thinking with someone else's head instead of with one's own. Suffering by nature or chance never seems so painful as suffering inflicted on us by the arbitrary will of another. We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. The greatest of follies is to sacrifice health for any other kind of happiness. Compassion is the basis of morality. To live alone is the fate of all great souls. Willpower is to the mind like a strong blind man who carries on his shoulders a lame man who can see. It's the niceties that make the difference. Fate gives us the hand, and we play the cards. There is no doubt that life is given us, not to be enjoyed, but to be overcome, to be got over. A man's face, as a rule, says more and more interesting things than his mouth, for it is a compendium of everything his mouth will ever say, in that it is the monogram of all this man's thoughts and aspirations. Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see.